What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. One of my sponsors, Steel Supplements. Link and discount code down in the description. You also know I talk about my Glance LED all the time. I'm going to give you a real life, practical application of this unit. So before, I'd get done work, I would go out, put on a game of MLB The Show, maybe have my phone, my tablet, my netbook, my laptop, something on around me where I could listen to games or watch a specific game. And then I would always kind of just try to keep an eye on both things. What Glance allows you to do is have real time live updates from these games on a little scoreboard, a little ticker right beside you. And it can keep track of whatever you want. For me, it's Major League Baseball. It can be NHL, it could be NBA. And as the Dodgers game got closer and closer and closer in score, I decided, you know what, let me pause the game. Let me go watch the Dodgers game. This is something that, could I have done it before at a glance? Yeah, probably. But I would really not be able to sit there and focus on playing the game, enjoying the game, as opposed to kind of in the back of my mind, looking over at my phone, looking over at my tablet, trying to figure out, hey, what's going on right now in sports? Do I need to watch something? Is a game close? Do you have a no hitter like we had a couple days ago? That's what makes the glance so special. All you have to do, buy the unit, tell it what you want to see. It's going to show it to you with no subscription fees. Now, moving into the Orioles game, before the season, it seemed like John Means, Kyle Bradish were going to be the top of the rotation. We have Corbin Burns get signed, and you think to yourself, man, like now that's just going to build on the strength of this team. Real quick sidebar. Mention I went to the game the other day, been going to a lot of Orioles games since I was a kid. The banners they put out as you come into the stadium, the banners they put out kind of on the exit of 95. I've never seen a free agent, right? It's always been a current player. Usually last couple years, Mountcastle, Rutschman, Mullins. I think they added Santander this year. I don't think he was there before. Had Bautista, obviously. Corbin Burns, as a free agent, is on those banners, which is pretty special because they must have either edited the photo or taken pictures from his first game and used them to put up on the banners. That's how important he is to this team because we see right now what happens when you have to have guys like Cole Irvin, Dean Kremer come back into the rotation, even if it's short term. You kind of start to see the faults of those two not being elite pitchers. Talked about it on Monday. What did we need to win the game? Practically a miracle. Jordan Westburg hits his first walk-off ever. Tuesday, that same magic was not there. And the game actually started very similar, not just in score, but, rainy game. Kind of as a side note to that, I like to go to the midday Orioles games. I'm not even going to attempt to go today because I said in yesterday's video, feel like the weather wasn't going to hold off for the game. It rained the entire game. I really feel like the weather isn't going to hold off for tomorrow because the forecast is actually supposed to be worse later today than it was last night. But this was supposed to be Cole Irvin 2.0. He got sent down last season, came back toward the end of the year, and looked good. But you see in this game, it comes down to consistency. And it doesn't mean consistency from game to game, it means from batter to batter. If you go back and watch the sequence he used on Bobby Witt, and then you see him get hit around by subpar players, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. How do you basically go out and shut down the best hitter on their team and then have Mikel Garcia hit a ball off his foot and then knock you all over the park? Now, granted, Cole Irvin didn't let this game get out of hand like he did a lot of times last season. We didn't see the walks, we didn't see the home runs, but I would actually argue if it wasn't a thick aired, rainy, muggy, cold night, and instead it was a midsummer, 90-degree, sweltering, thin air day, you're probably going to see some of these balls not fall in the outfield, but rather over the wall because these balls were going out with some velocity. We also got to see Jonathan Heasley come in. Now, this is his old team in the Royals, and he looked really good. And what I was most interested in him is seeing how he was going to handle the fastball because he did not throw many, I think less than 5 fastballs. And what's really, really strange about that is Dylan Tate, to me, had kind of been, the non fastball guy. Every team has the non fastball guy, right? The guy that just goes out and throws pitches that just have nasty movement on them, and that's all they need. Dylan Tate, for a while, had been that guy, but Dylan Tate has struggled a lot. And I think this gives Heasley the opportunity to kind of step up into that role of being the guy that has that movement. Even more so, and I didn't mention this kind of finishing the story with Perez. Perez has an oblique strain, and that's a big deal. More so if you go back and watch, he called the trainers out. He knew he was injured, and that's something that they can put him on a 15-day IL, but I don't think that means he comes back in 15 days. I mean, this is something that, in my honest opinion, we might not see him until after the All-Star break. I think it's going to be that much time in terms of healing, but most importantly, his comfort. Now, for all of that to be said, I don't want to put a lot of this loss on the offensive side because listen, the bats weren't as bad as they appear on paper. Marsh gave up 10 hard hit balls. You have Tony Kemp make his first start, right? He comes in and he hits a ball that was called foul, but it goes to review. And listen, they just didn't have a good angle of it. That's all there was to it. I really don't understand how in any sport in 2024, not just baseball, you can't have ultra HD clear shots of anything in the field of play. And you know what? To be fair, I guess maybe Major League Baseball has in the control room angles and, things that we don't get to see. But at the same time, if you're going to go to a review, if you're going to have an official timeout to look at something, we as fans should see whatever was used to determine, be it overturned or be it standing. And we just didn't see it. We were stuck with the local broadcast, which, to be honest, I mean, granted, I'm going to be biased on this. If we're being completely upfront, I would say that it looked like it hit the line and was fair. And the game 100% rode on that call. You had Gunnar coming up to the plate as the tying run. Now, final point I want to make about this game, I mentioned Austin Hayes would be the first player I felt was at risk of losing his spot. And we saw Colton Cowser take the rollover. Now, granted, it's just a rest day, right? It doesn't mean anything in the scheme of things, but Cowser made the most of it. He drove in the lone run for the Orioles. He seemed capable in that very awkward outfield they have there. And I think, obviously, you're not going to see him right away become the everyday player, but I do think you're going to start to see more and more when they go against right-handed pitchers. And maybe if Austin, who's had injury issues the last couple years, gets hurt, it's going to open that door. And I feel like once that door is completely open, Colton Cowser is going to walk through it and not look back. So, as I said before, we'll see what happens today. Corbin Burnes, aforementioned, maybe going to get that second start, maybe try to put a bow on this Royal series. Orioles been a long time since they got swept. It goes all the way back to last season, so we'll see how that goes. But ultimately, I just don't see any way they play this game today. I appreciate you guys watching this, and I will be back tomorrow with more commentary.